British imperialism in China. The Chinese have always referred to themselves as the Middle Kingdom. The Chinese viewed outsiders as barbarians and saw little value in trade with foreign merchants. The Great Wall was built to protect China from barbarian attacks. But outsiders came across the Silk Road for China's exotic goods. As a result, China became the dominant empire in Asia and the world. China eventually did trade, which helped spread Chinese culture throughout Asia. But outside merchants always had to obey Chinese rules and show respect. In 1644, northern invaders called Manchus conquered China and created the Qing dynasty. Qing China faced two challenges that would threaten China's future strength. A population boom led to a rise in the number of Chinese peasants and competition for land. European missionaries and merchants arrived in Asia with hopes of trading with China. In 1793, Chinese Emperor Long wrote a letter to answer a request for trade by British King George III. Strange and costly objects do not interest me. As your ambassador can see for himself, we possess all things. I set no value on objects strange or ingenious, and have no use for your country's manufactures. What did Emperor Long say to King George? The Chinese had little interest in trading with the West and were able to reject trade offers. China had a healthy agricultural economy, large deposits of natural resources, and manufactured products like silk, cotton clothes, and porcelain. For decades, China exported goods to European merchants but refused to buy European products. The British were desperate to find a product that the Chinese would buy. And in the 1800s, the British smuggled opium from India into China. By 1835, 12 million Chinese citizens were addicted to opium. The Chinese outlawed opium sales and appointed Commissioner Lin to end opium smuggling. The British refused to end the opium trade, and China declared war on Britain. Britain used its modern navy to easily win the Opium Wars of 1839 to 1842. The Treaty of Nanjing ended the Opium Wars. Britain received Hong Kong and extraterritorial rights in China, meaning foreigners were not subject to Chinese laws anymore. In addition to its foreign problems, China also faced major problems with its own people. By 1850, China's population grew so rapidly that agriculture could not keep up. In 1853, the Taiping Rebellion was an attempt to end poverty among peasants. The Qing defeated the rebels in 1864, but the rebellion killed 20 million people and weakened China. Britain and other industrial powers took advantage of China's weakness to force China to sign unequal trade treaties in particular ports. By 1900, China was carved into a series of spheres of influence, areas where a foreign nation had exclusive trade rights. The division of China worried the USA that it would be shut out of Chinese trade. In 1899, the USA proposed an open-door policy in China so merchants from all nations could trade freely. The growth of foreign influence, poverty among peasants, and Christianity upset many Chinese. In 1900, frustrated Chinese led the Boxer Rebellion to expel foreigners from China. An army of 19,000 British, French, and American soldiers finally ended the Boxer Rebellion. The power of foreign imperialists and the violence of the Boxer Rebellion led to calls to reform China. Reformers looked to the West for ways to fix China. In 1911, Sun Yat-sen led an overthrow of the Qing dynasty and created a democracy with a written constitution. Sun's goal was to promote nationalism, democracy, and economic security for all Chinese citizens. Over 3,000 years of dynastic rule had come to an end.